My brain is fried. I have no motivation. Thinking hurts my head, and I am completely drained. What do I do now? Where do I go from here? And how did I even get here? I asked myself these questions as I finished my first year of high school. Entering high school, I had great ambitions. I wanted to graduate at the top of my class, earn college credit in high school, go to an Ivy League school, launch a nonprofit organization, and serve as a role model for my community. These were expectations more than they were ambitions for me. I was always seen as the exemplar student growing up, so I was under a lot of pressure. And as a result, I felt inclined to pursue these goals. Because I was so determined to accomplish all of my goals, I worked really hard. I worked so hard that it became unhealthy. All I would do was work to complete all of my goals, and I ended up drowning in my own ambitions. My workload became very heavy, and I no longer prioritized myself. My main focus was satisfying all of my goals regardless of the mental toll it had on me. I sprinted towards all these achievements like it was a marathon, until one day I gave out. I suddenly became lethargic and unmotivated. I had no desire to continue pursuing my goals. I didn't function the way I used to, and I fell out of love with some of my favorite activities. Doing everyday activities became draining. My ambitions no longer felt of any importance. I didn't know the answer to these internal dilemmas I was facing at the time, but it turns out I was experiencing burnout. Burnout is defined as a physical or mental collapse caused by overwork or stress. In a 2021 survey, 71% of students were found to have experienced burnout. It's much more common than we think it is. Some individuals experience burnout every day, and this problem is simply overlooked. Burnout can be particularly harmful to someone because it alters their personality and outlook on life. Those who experience burnout undergo a multitude of both physical and emotional symptoms. Burnout reveals itself in so many different ways. We can feel overwhelming stress, fatigue, irregular sleep patterns, and muscle tensions. We can also experience reduced performance, lack of creativity, negative moods, detachment, difficulty concentrating, and decreased productivity. Burnout places limits on us. It limits our capabilities and abilities. It's like a dead end for a lot of us, and it's hard to satisfy our potential when we are burnt out. However, the greater challenge is overcoming burnout. In today's day and age, burnout is at an all-time high. With growing competition between peers in schools and workers in the workforce, we tend to overwork ourselves. We think that we are driving ourselves to success and glory, but ultimately, we drive ourselves to burnout, and then we become stuck. We're stuck because we lose the passions that used to intrigue us so much. We're stuck because we lose our ambition. We're stuck because doing the things we love to do exhaust us. We have these intense ambitions, and suddenly, they just disappear. When we experience burnout, we are a minimized version of ourselves. Well, how do we overcome this? How do we challenge burnout? How do we move past this setback and grow into our authentic selves? Well, here are a few of my recommendations. Firstly, I urge you to reevaluate your intentions. Like many other overachievers, I pursued every achievement solely for the prestige of it. This caused a lot of unwanted stress, which ultimately drove me to burnout because my stress was coming from a place of poor intentions. I worked so hard to earn these achievements that I wasn't even really passionate about. Whenever I would begin a task, I dreaded it. These tasks became very dull to me, and I lost enthusiasm for many activities because I was pouring all of my energy into the wrong places. Yet I continued to do the things I dreaded because I wanted to feel glory. I had the wrong intentions, and I fell victim to burnout as a result. So I urge you to ask yourself this question: are my motives authentic? Each and every one of you is unique. We are all so special, but we are wasting our potential when we apply our talent to places that it doesn't belong. You arrive at a place of mental and physical exhaustion because you are burdening yourself with something you have no desire for. Next, we need to prioritize downtime. Downtime is important. Our brains need it. We need to understand that we can't do it all unless we are nurturing ourselves. Recent studies have indicated that individuals perform better when they alternate between times of focus and times of inactivity. Therefore, we are most productive when we allocate time for ourselves into our schedules. Listen to that one more time. We are most productive when we allocate time for ourselves into our schedules. Not only are we more productive, but we are actively eliminating room for burnout. Downtime can look anything like meditation, reading, engaging in a new hobby, physical activity, and so much more. Downtime recharges our attention span and motivation. It replenishes us. It refreshes us and makes it difficult for burnout to reach us. So check in with yourself frequently and remind yourself that you are not a working machine. By implementing downtime into your schedule, you are paving the way for minds that can achieve anything you set your heart on. Lastly, we need to take control. When we reach a place of burnout, it's hard to feel control over the situation. We aren't in our control when we are mentally and physically drained. But let's recognize that there are things you can't change and there are things you can control. Some things you can't change. Maybe it's your working hours or how much schoolwork needs to be completed. But what can you control? Your priorities. You can control your priorities. You can still complete your tasks while prioritizing yourself. Who said you couldn't? Let's reestablish control over our lives by taking the necessary steps to blossom into our full potential. Controlling stressful situations is difficult. But when we establish control over our responsibilities, we are powerful. When we are in control, we are capable of taking on whatever comes our way, regardless of the difficulties we may face. No matter how successful you are, the prestige of your degrees, your economic status, it doesn't matter who you are, but you can still fall victim to burnout. No one can perform their best at a place of burnout. That's why it's so critical to be equipped with methods to combat it. Everyone is capable of exceptional performance and productivity in all dimensions of life. Burnout is our biggest obstacle, and it gets us at places of vulnerability. In a world full of opportunities, the sky's the limit. Let's take control of our success stories and navigate through distress effectively. We all have endless potential and a life without limits ahead of us. Let's prevent and combat burnout and continue to grow into our extraordinary potential together. Thank you.